thanks for joining us today for another Star Telecom unboxing for a Genesys Cloud release for January 2022. In today's conversation, again, we have Alec Narancic, a resident workforce management expert, and Edgar Quadra, Star Telecom's solution consultant. We're going to talk about another January feature release.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so today we're talking the January 19th releases. Quite a substantial one for this week. I'm really excited actually to talk about is the one right at the top. It's a major release. It's the redesigned roster agent interface, the UI. Really great stuff. For those organizations out there that are using predictive engagement, great new feature when it comes to viewing a lot of the action maps. So you don't have to get into the admin side of things to look at them, and I'll talk about that. There's some new ACD routing rules in place here for in-queue flows. There's an audit log, so Alec will be talking about that in the workforce management time off requests. I think it's very well needed. And then a couple other small things, so integrations and some deprecations. So let me jump right into the one I'm excited about for this week is the redesigned roster and agent interface UI. So Genesys is really pushing the agent kind of experience where instead of kind of thinking about each interaction as a separate type of entity, they're really starting to group everything and pushing this concept of conversations. So now the agent is actually working with a conversation, not just a particular type of interaction. So what you see here on screen is the new redesigned UI, or the interactions panel on the left-hand side. They're using this concept called stacked cards. So if you see Thomas here, John Thomas's interaction here, his card has two types of interactions stacked, and so that means that John is actually on a phone call, and let's say the agent also sent an email. So taking advantage of the internal context database, Genesys is smart enough and is intelligent enough to actually group those two interactions into one card, making it much more easy for the agent to kind of navigate this interaction. If you can remember in your mind here, previously these interactions would have been kind of segmented into different parts of the panel, but now it's all grouped into a card. So some of the other things that we can see here on screen is the effort channel switching. So again, using John as the example here, an agent can initiate a different type of channel or interaction. So if during the conversation John requests for a text message, the agent can go ahead and hit that little plus button and then start a text message interaction. Very cool stuff. There's also, you can see secondary statuses of that interaction. So these are just like a little notification pop up on our cell phones. It shows the secondary status of, so this call is on hold. I'm currently editing this particular email, and there's two unread messages for this message interaction. So that's where the secondary statuses come in. There's additional details. So right away, so additional details kind of like under the subject. So you can see here what's the status of my order. That's more details. So very quickly an agent can kind of flash over, look at what the latest response was, and then use their judgment to see, you know what, I don't need to answer that right away, or I don't need to answer that text, or sorry, that message right away. They can continue on and kind of work in the higher priority interaction. Queue information, so what queue that interaction is, the elapsed time of that previous interaction. So again, using the text message or that message, for example, there's been 9 minutes since I've responded to that message. So probably something I should get on top of. And then overall, the total overall handle time of that interaction that currently has in focus. So with John Thomas here, my total interaction time with him has been 3 minutes and 20 seconds. They're redesigning all the other channels as well. So this is a very cool graphic here where email, web messaging, WeChat, WhatsApp, all those other digital channels and lines of communication have been redesigned. And this is kind of a snippet to show what those new redesigned kind of icons and interfaces look like. Okay, Rob, Alec, any comments on that?
Yeah, I do have a question. So
Yeah.
let's imagine that we have a caller, a classic inbound call from a person that's not that doesn't have any email registered with that specific phone number within
Yeah.
our external contacts within Genesys. So what happens then? Is it still going to be able to kind of group those if we receive that specific an email from that specific person as well, or is it going to group them only in the case of us initiating an outbound email?
Yeah, great
That
question there,
kind of
Alec.
stack.
Yeah, yeah. So if John Thomas isn't part of the external contacts email, so there's two options there. An agent can quickly go ahead and create an external contact database, and then you can start gathering, start grouping those interactions. Or in the case that they're not in there, and in our experience, we're finding a lot of our clients are not fully utilizing the external contact database. So then those interactions would just be a separate card. So and that's how it would be grouped, and that's how it would be displayed to the agent.
Okay, thank you. Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Cool picture, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. It's super exciting. I'm very excited for that one. So the next one is the predictive engagement action maps. So it's kind of a underutilized feature, but I particularly think, but overall the engagement side of things in this particular journey mapping should be something that most of our clients should start thinking about. You have a web presence and it's or you're a retail customer, or you use a lot of web marketing within your company. So taking advantage of the journey mapping is really something that we should consider using a lot more. And with this new feature, it makes it even a lot easier to look at that data. So as we start building up a journey mapping for our client or from our website, now it's available under the performance views and workspace. So we can create a new interaction here. So previously, I'll show in a second here, but I had to go to the admin section and then navigate to the engagement, the predictive engagement section. Thanks, Alec, for that to view this tool. But now I can just do it from the performance view. So from administration side of things, it's one less permission that as administrators you have to kind of think about. Just give them access to the performance view side of things. So I can just go ahead and click on it, and then it navigates me to where I need to start seeing that. So let me quickly show you some data. So I'm not lying here. So this is what kind of, for those of us who are not familiar with the action maps, this is what an action map looks like. I know our marketing guy would be really happy to see this data and something that he could action on, right? So again, if your company is using a lot of web marketing tools, this is something else that we can build within Genesys Cloud and kind of get a nice action and customer journey within the website. And there's a whole other predictive engagement piece that we can talk about. Just reach out to your account manager. Oops, okay. All right, what else we got here? So set skills and interaction priority within the architect queue flows. So this was actually kind of surprising to me, thinking that it was something like this would already been in place, but it wasn't. So currently, prior to this new feature, when a call goes through the ACD routing or through the architect tool would set the skills or the language at the very beginning, so before it kind of enters the queue. But now with this new feature set in queue flows skill set actions, as an administrator, we can set the language or the priority of the call while they're already in queue. So think of it as you have a calling queue and they decide to do a queue callback. When they kind of initiate that queue callback feature, we can set the priority accordingly. Or for some reason, they're in the French queue and by mistake, they were actually looking for the English queue. We could present and through just conversations and through quality management, we're starting to get a lot more reports that people are accidentally going to the wrong language queue. Well, we could either fix, obviously, within prior to IVR, maybe there's something in IVR we need to kind of fix up, or we can give them the option directly in queue to change their language preference and kind of be routed to a new queue. So that's something to consider, and it's something that you should evaluate. I think of that could be kind of a minor change as a new feature release, but it could have some major impacts if you start using that very creatively.
The only use case that I can think of, so if you waited in queue for, let's say, I don't know, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, you could be having, let's say, tier 2 agents or more experienced agents that are handling escalation calls easier than others, right? So after each minute, you could get an additional skill assigned, and the more the more of those escalation skill levels you're gonna gather, you're going to get routed to agents that are handling escalations better, if that makes sense.
So if it's focused on skills, that's good as well, because then if someone's waiting in queue, you can maybe even have a really smart in queue call flow that gathers more information, gives them another menu choice, and sets the skill from that menu choice and routes them somewhere else. So so language necessarily isn't because they're already experiencing everything in the language. Most people aren't going to hope that the system offers them a language change. They're going to hang up and call back. But a skill, like if we hit a certain threshold, like you suggested, and offer them a menu choice, we could assign another skill to their call interaction, and it would route through to an agent properly skilled.
Great. Okay, so now the audit log viewer for workforce management time off request and shift trade. Alec, can you go ahead and talk to us about that?
Thanks, Edgar. And yeah, awesome things have been updated so far from what you presented. So coming up to the last piece, so the audit log viewer for WFM time of request shift trades is really a minor addition to the audit viewer, basically, but very needed, as you said. So I'm just expand on the audit viewer, and I'm just going to select the WFM service. We're going to select the entity. So our entity is going to be shift trades first, and then we're going to take a look at time of requests. And in here, we can see that we had one creation. So one shift trade request has been created today, and one has been updated. And we can additionally filter whether we want to see only the creations of those or any updates. And switching over to the time of requests. We see a substantially larger amount of changes that have been done, so either requests being created or updated. And just as any other service name, we also have the possibility to actually dial back in time. So let's go from 1st February up till the actual time, and we can also see well, basically all time of requests that have been happening. And once again, we have the ability to actually filter either only the creations, the deletions, or the updates. So we're getting pretty close now to completing and then complementing the WFM audit viewer. So right now we have forecast, historical data import, schedule, shift trade time requests, and work plans. So the only things that I kind of see that are lacking would be work plan rotations, and with those, I think that this would be a complete piece of work, basically. Guys, do you have any questions maybe in regards to this?
Actually, just one thought. This looks like it's just for Genesys Cloud 3 users or anyone who's got the workforce management upgrades.
So yeah,
right.
Basically, as it states here, it is for Genesys Cloud 3 users, Genesys Cloud 1 users with a WM upgrade, well, the second upgrade, or Genesys Cloud 2 users with the first WEM upgrade, basically. So pretty much anybody using WFM within Genesys on either of those 3 license levels.
Cool. One of the things we talk to people a lot about is when they actually get Genesys Cloud 3 license, that all these feature requests that roll out over time come right to them.
Exactly.
A lot of the upgrades go for across the platform, but this is the first one we're looking at recently that's just for Genesys Cloud 3 users. So it's another reason to get the high-end license, but that's just crossed my mind.
I can't agree more.
Okay.
All right. Edgar, do you want to take it from here?
Actually, let's just keep it on your screen here, Alec, and I can we can talk about that together. So this next one is for all custom actions and integrations that we, as a service provider, would provide for our clients. So it's just the HTTP call action for delete method. I guess I could kind of see why the HTTP action, the delete action, hasn't been added up until now, because it could be quite dangerous, right? So we could accidentally create or run the delete method and delete actual data on the other side. So again, it's a minor one, but it definitely has value in here, and it's available for all subscriptions, right? So we can definitely, if that's needed, an action needed for your custom integrations, we can definitely look at doing that. And yeah, thanks, Alec. We can kind of get into here and we can see a bit more of the settings there just for custom interactions in general. Thanks. So let's just head back there, Alec. And then the last one is just a deprecation.
Can we go back to the data actions integrate data action support? I was just going to say this looks like a good example of where Star Telecom, as the integrator, as the solution provider, and someone that we're working with, for any clients that we're working with to provide their platform management, that's where our team could build those HTTP calls for clients. So it's not something that definitely a client would get into trouble with, but it's something that they could leverage our support team, and part of the monthly support that we offer people, add some powerful, simple tools for them to delete data with, as well as all the other modifications.
All right. Thanks, Rob, for that piece. It's definitely one of the value adds as a service provider. We do add. So this last one is just a deprecation in the where architect, there's just a particular action is being removed and it's being consolidated and the same kind of action can be used in either a custom data or within a data action. So Genesys is just consolidating all the architect kind of features into just a custom data actions.
All right. It's a lot going on this week. Fantastic. Thanks, Alec. Thanks, Edgar. Thanks, everyone. And looking forward to seeing you again next time.
All right. Thanks, Rob. Bye-bye.